a base platform for any of the BIM modeling to be done. Secondly, we are going to look at the integrated workflow process. So we have an AEC solution with us, entire package with us, which has n number of solutions to it, which are integrated somehow. So eventually, if I need to work upon any of the things like site development part or building modeling part. So these together are interlinked using either plugins or has a direct interoperability between both of them. So we are going to look at certain solutions which are like Forma, which is particularly used for conceptual mass development as well as for particular area matrices, as well as you can take that model directly from an interface of Forma to Revit. Then we will be doing a detailed designing onto Revit part. After doing the detailed analysis, we can go for the further other things like clash detection in order to detect what clashes are there within the model and how to resolve them. We can go on to Naviswork with the same interface. And similarly, if I need to visualize my model within from the conceptual phase to and design phase, I can opt for an twin motion portion. So we are going to look at uh, how these things are going to work together, how integrated solutions offer you a better understanding with what workflow is, and how to get an information from an existing model to the developing part of it. So this is what we are going to see today. Then coming back to the second part of it, where we are going to discuss more upon Revit interface. So we are going to establish datums and how the Revit interface actually works. We are going to see that. Then a major part of it, which comes is the part of land development or topo solid, which is a feature within Revit. So we are going to look at that feature using two different geometries. Like one would be like shared coordinates, other would be like publishing the coordinates. So how we have to have a shared coordinate model, how we have to acquire those coordinates from an existing file and work upon. So we are going to check all those things in today's training part. So coming back to building information modeling. So as you all know, that we have BIM stands for the building information modeling. That means like in CAD, we used to draw lines. They don't have an entities that represent that particular lines, right? It means it has a length, but it doesn't indicates volume, length, and width to it. So this is how an information modeling Revit related to Revit works. Like if I draw a wall, it would be having certain parameters associated with it, which will give in particular information about an entity. So if I have a wall, I have drawn a certain length of wall, there would be a length associated with a wall. There would be a width or a thickness associated with a wall. There would be a height associated with a wall. So in case if I take it practically, so eventually if I need to count what would be my plaster area within the wall below the ceiling, I can do that, right? So this is how an information modeling or an information out of model is being developed. And each element has its own entities to work with, has its own functionalities to work with particular data embedded onto it. This is what an information modeling works. Now, coming back to why we are into the BIM solutions now. So first thing, it makes a more coordinated sort of a space for us to work together, whether different disciplines are concerned with. So similarly, like if I have an architectural model, if I have worked on an architectural model, I'm going to send that particular model to an structural domain person. He's going to lay out its columns, beams according to what an architectural design has been embedded. Then after having those beams and columns layout, these both models are going to be synchronized or linked with each other in certain aspect by using the shared coordinates means. Then these two files will be going to a third person who will be an mechanical, electrical, firefighting person or someone else from the other domain. So likewise, imposing both of the model's architecture and structure together within a file, MEP person is going to implant his own services according to what an architectural and structural model is. So this is the entire workflow which generates a linking between multiple disciplines and domains and give you the proper information which is related to an element. So so there is always a buzz around what the BIM actually is, whether it is in software, whether it is a technology, whether it is a building information data, or it is a process. So in my opinion, I don't think so it's in software, because software is acting as a base over here to develop those informations accordingly. So it is in technology, definitely. It is a building sort of data which we are developing within a software. So there might be several other softwares, like if I move on to InfraWorks, if I move on to Civil 3D, those are land capturing or land development sort of InfraWorks projects for the land development. So that eventually is not a part of Revit. When it comes to Revit, it accommodates the vertical designing at that particular point. That's more of vertical designing, documentation, linking the other models, collaborating onto the cloud. So these are the basic key functionalities which Revit is capable of. Then coming back, it's a process. Definitely it's a process, because it is an integrated workflow solution. As I said, there are multiple solutions which are working for the particular purposes. If I talk about Forma, it is for the conceptual energy and for conceptual analysis phase of a design. If I talk about Formit, it is simply used as a SketchUp model, where we are more dealing with the forms and spaces. Right. Similarly, if I come on to Revit, it becomes a detailing design portion, collaboration portion, as well as a documentation portion where we develop GFCs. Then we are further into Naviswork for clutch detection and visualization for twin motion. So it's a complete building information process throughout to develop those information from one model to another, take that same amount of information which other software is capable of taking that into an integrated base platform, which is Revit. So as you see, building information modeling is a digital representation of what physical and functional spaces are. So whenever we are collaborating with multiple disciplines together onto this space, we have a geometry associated with it. We have number of components or elements within a particular category. Like if I talk only particularly with architectural aspect, so the door is a type of particular category. Similarly, window is a type of particular category. Now, depending on the category, it has types and subtypes divided to it. Doors, so for example, door 750 by 2100 is a one type of door. Similarly, 900 by 2100 is second type of door, and so on. So the basic category, Revit works on categories further, which is divided into subcategories depending on the types of elements. So if I have to tag those elements accordingly, I would be going with the type properties. Coming back to spaces, materials, so you can input n number of things which are capable of, like if I just talk about materials. So just for an example, if I take gypsum board, so it would have certain thermal properties embedded into it. Even if I don't know, if I have a certain specification of a material given to me on a specification basis, I can input that onto my Revit portion for developing the schedules out of it. What thermal properties does it embed? How much heat transfer would be capable of it, or how much it will restrict a heat transmission from one end to other. So this all capabilities cannot, it's not of analysis portion, but it's more of putting an input to an solution on a manual basis. So in order to develop an data accordingly, but it doesn't gives any sort of automatic analysis, I would say. For that, we have to go on to a particular solution for that. Similarly, we have to set the parameters. So these all are the part of inputs that you are going to give within a Revit model. And then you have certain simulations to be driven, certain optimizations. So now it has been more catered as a part of Dynamo, which is an automated part where you just put an input to a solution and it gives you n number of variations or simulations accordingly, which uh, you can see what are the parameters associated. You can give the inputs, you can filter out those inputs, and according to your priority, you can see which option acts as a as a best option for you to work with design. So this is how onto the input part you have to give in manual inputs, whereas for determining simulations, you have to move on to Dynamo for those output. So as I said, it eventually works from the entire base, which is from the initiation of a design, which is conceptual design, to detail on Revit. Then further for analysis, you would be going on to, for the structural part, you can go for robot analysis, robot structural analysis. For even documentation, Revit is best. Fabrication can be done on Revit and other tool sets. So likewise, depending on the level of development, so you can move across within the BIM Revit model. So this also helps in one of the most important parts. Like if I just move on to design, it's a 1 to 2 year process if I work eventually with a small scale projects. Similarly for the construction, so most time taking part where we have to preserve our activities, where we have to preserve our time, is the operation and maintenance phase, which lasts for 80 to 100 years almost. So this is the most important design phase, not design, not construction, but when it comes to operation and maintenance, that becomes the most crucial part for any of the projects. So eventually for everyone, BIM stands with a different meaning. So for some of them, it becomes a part of philosophy. It becomes an environment to work with. And for me, it's a process. So coming back to the BIM for design. So won't be going to that detail what BIM is. We will be just switching on to what Revit can do and how we can establish a project onto Revit and can work upon it according to the building information modeling that we have to fetch it out from a model. So coming back to traditional design aspects. So,
audio setting में जाओ, connected है, audio setting में जाओ.
so now if I just move on to
speaker
the
करो.
traditional design aspect,
आई
sir, I request you to please unmute yourself.
दिखाओ.
अभी तो आ रही थी जब टेस्ट कर.
So according to the design phase or from and design phase, progress phase to its documentation and construction documentation phase. So eventually in the traditional design process, it was taking a lot of time when it comes from progress designing to detailed development portion. But with the help of newer design abilities, we are able to have a cost constraints to it. Now we don't need to emphasize more onto, we can emphasize onto the design aspect at the earlier stage. We don't need to wait for the construction development part to come across. So this is how the smart designing varies from a traditional aspect. So initially in traditional aspect, you were spending a lot of time within the CD stage, and where you haven't focused much upon to the design stages. But for the smart designing building part, you have the tools and abilities to initially initiate your entire project uh, with key aspects with accuracy from the design initiation phase itself. So you need to work less on to the detailed designing and construction documentation stage later on. So that becomes static with the help of this smart design process and efforts. So now you're going to spend your efforts onto the earlier stage of design, and your rest of design stages got sorted out automatically. Eventually, it also contributes in the same way to the cost related factors which are associated within a project. So these are certain BIM mandates I would like to showcase it to you, where we have been leading with the CPWD for all the DMRC projects. They all have implemented and has mandated the BIM design for their projects. So this is one of the major changes that has been revolved around in the government sector from last 1 year. So now they are opting for the BIM technologies for their inbuilt processes. Eventually, CPWD has also mandated, PWD has also mandated, and similarly with Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, they have also mandated this. Now coming back to the most important part that we are going to look at is the integrated solution. So I would be taking you directly onto the interface after this with various other solutions within AEC and how we have to work for developing a BIM information modeling to it. So now we have AEC collection, as you know. So format, as I said, it's for the general mass development or for the form developments. Similarly, AutoCAD, Autodesk Recap Pro is for the cloud uh, specification related activities. So whatsoever scanners, laser scanners, point cloud data, you have those data to be embedded onto this software and you can work upon those things accordingly. Similarly, Autodesk Insight is to generate for the energy analysis, what performance will the building give to me. Dynamo is for automation, 3ds Max and Twinmotion are for the rendering or visualization. CAD is for general 2D drafting. Navisworks is for the architects comes with clash detection part. So in short, all these have a good interoperability with a common platform that you can see is Autodesk Revit over here. So all those things have a very good interconnectivity, interoperability. So I can just, in a single click, I can transform entire of model from one platform to the other platform. Similarly, we have an Autodesk Docs, which is a common platform for storing your files, I would say. So it maintains your data within a cloud, not in the system first thing. And it eventually changes down all of the versions within a project. So there is no storage within your network, as well as you can also compare what was the version changes between both of the models. तो अगर मैंने किसी काम को शुरू किया है पहले और मैं उसको बाद में जज करना चाहूँ कि कितना चेंजेस आया, सो आई कैन compare those two models as well at the same period of time. So that is what an Autodesk Docs does. So Docs के साथ साथ ही आप जब क्लाउड पे जाते हो, so you have a BIM Collaborate Pro option, which is an advanced version where Docs as a base platform for storing files, but for the design collaboration, for model coordination, you have a BIM Collaborate Pro, which is a separate product which works on cloud basically. So as I said, we have a particular model for conceptual design phase, detailed design phase, coordination, and visualization. They all are integrated within a common data environment, which acts for a file storage purposes and eventually to reduce your sizes and can simultaneously work on cloud directly. So was we just taking you to a form where we will be going on to a data platform, which is basically an Autodesk format you can see. So I have just logged in onto an project right now and onto the platform. And over here onto the left hand side, you can see I have an option for creating a new project. So now, first of all, Forma is a part of cloud-based solution where I can generate my analysis of building forms and eventually I can set area matrices accordingly. So for instance, if I just need to create it, I will be going on to a new project. And as soon as I move on to new project, it asks me for a particular location according to the GIS data. So let's search a quick thing like, let's have Green Park, New Delhi. So similarly, you can type particular latitude and longitude, so it will take you to a specific area. Similarly, I can name this project. Suppose, let me take it DEL or DL for Delhi, and that's 01, the project name. So I can give that. I can go with the option of how much area do I need to capture with the surrounding. If I need certain detail elements, I can focus it upon directly. And if I need a particular area to be penned, I can confirm that particular area onto my image. Now it's going to generate a plan or a base plan for you on the terms of GIS networking. It will take certain time. And then once the area is being captured accordingly, then we have to set what orders we have to give to an data. Like if I need an road data, I can order those elements, and there are certain free elements to it as well. So in this way we can work. Once this is being done, yes. So you should have a better internet connectivity, I guess. Uh, Internet connectivity is poor over here. So now you can see it automatically brings me to order certain data which is associated with that particular GIS location. So I can say that I need an open street data. So for that particular area, you can order it because it's free right now. Otherwise, you have to have that beta library within. Similarly, for the flat terrains, if you need to have an open street map, similarly, you can order those data accordingly. So now the order has been made and this has been successfully loaded within our project. Now you can see I have a particular terrain and I can work upon it accordingly. And over here onto left hand side, you have your proposal one. So similarly, you can duplicate this using this right tool, and you can have number of proposals to be developed and you can compare those two proposals accordingly. And if I say onto the right hand side, so these are the tools we are going to work with. So this is simple. So it's just a part of demonstration how this building information modeling is being transferred using a process. And you have your libraries over here, and you have certain other extensions which needs to be downloaded for having those capabilities. Similarly, you can collaborate onto the cloud with the help of this tab. Over here, you have the drawing tools like building tools, trees, site elevations and zones and constraints, and furthermore dimensions and so on. And whatsoever you draw will act as a layers over here. So these are the layers, and onto the right hand side, you can set your ground floor area, uh, cross internal area, net internal areas, and so on. So likewise, if you are drawing a model within a particular site, so you can easily relate to these particular things accordingly. So we'll show you a very small part of it. Let me just go on to site limit, and let's say this is my site particularly. So now this becomes my site basically. And you can see what the site area is.
गुड मॉर्निंग
20.
सर हम लोग हैंड्स ऑन कर सकते हैं क्या साथ में आपके साथ या नहीं
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं आप,
फॉर बेटर
but I
अंडरस्टैंडिंग
don't think, yeah, you can do that, but I don't think so this is the platform where you would be having an access to. So मैं तो अभी एक integrated
ओके नहीं
workflow का
ट्रायल वर्जन
process
आपको
दिखा रहा
कितने समय दे सकते हैं तो
हूँ. So I would request to,
तो ट्रायल वर्जन का एक्सेस आप लोग दे सकते हैं हम लोग को
I don't think so, sir. इसमें Forma है because this is Forma. This is a cloud-based solution, so it doesn't acts as a like आप explore कर सकते हैं अपने end पे, but वो अभी पूरा install होने में process लगेगा. तो इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि ये अभी आप नॉर्मली देख लीजिए, देन आपके पास आई थिंक रेविट होगा ही, राइट? सो वी विल बी गोइंग ऑन टू हैंड्स ऑन प्रैक्टिस विथ रेविट पर्टिकुलरली. ये तो मैं अभी आपको एक बिम का प्रोसेस दिखा रहा हूँ कि हाउ दिस वेरियस सॉल्यूशंस दैट वी हैज एन इंटीग्रेशन विथ रेविट। तो अभी तो मैं एकदम बेसिक लेवल पे आया हूँ। देन व्हेन वी विल बी मूविंग ऑन टू रेविट तो हम उस पे हैंड्स ऑन ले लेंगे। दैट वुड बी बेटर।
Works.
वर्क्स राइट? ओके, थैंक यू। So this is how like we can create the sites. Now I would be going on to certain other options like if I have this line option, तो मैं building की profiles बना सकता हूँ. So I can develop those n number of solutions within. So this is how you can make other changes and likewise. So now you can see the building coverage for a particular area. What are the stories that it covers? Likewise, what its terrain is. So all these information has been captured within using those datas according to the GIS surveys. तो आप at a conceptual level आप begin कर सकते हैं क्योंकि whenever you will be receiving a particular सर्वे ड्राइंग तो मॉड्यूलेशंस तो होंगे ही, बट दिस गिव्स यू अ लेस नंबर ऑफ मॉड्यूलेशन। सिमिलरली अगर मैं इंफ्रा वर्क से साइट को कैप्चर करता हूँ तो उसमें भी हमारा केवल 10% वेरिएशन होता है कि हमारे पास जो सर्वे ड्राइंग आती है तो हम उसके हिसाब से इनकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं, बट वी कैन स्टार्ट विद अवर इनिशियल डिजाइन प्रोसेसेस। तो ये तो एक पार्ट था जिसमें मेरे पास मॉड्यूल सेट है कि बिल्डिंग का विड्थ कितना है, हाइट कितनी है, पर हाइट कितनी है, पर फ्लोर की हाइट कितनी है। सो लाइकवाइज आप इसको एनहेंस भी कर सकते हैं 15 मीटर्स 20 मीटर्स। तो आप एक बेसिक मॉड्यूल रफ प्लान करके अपना पेपर में रख सकते हैं और आप उसको इनपुट्स देते हुए इस चीज को डेवलप कर सकते हैं। सो दिस इज वन वे ऑफ वर्किंग विद दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग। द अदर ऑप्शन इफ आई मूव ऑन इज द ऑटोमेटिकली डेवलपमेंट ऑफ बेसिक फॉर्म। तो अगर मैं इस टूल को यूज करके डेवलपमेंट करता हूँ तो मैं यहाँ पे फॉर्म्स के साथ प्ले कर सकता हूँ मोर इवेंचुअली। सो इफ दिस इज माय एंटायर बिल्डिंग एंड आई एम डेवलपिंग अ सर्टेन फॉर्म आउट ऑफ इट, तो फिर मैं यहाँ पे फॉर्म्स के साथ प्ले कर सकता हूँ, बट विद दिस ऑप्शन आई कैन नॉट प्ले विथ फॉर्म्स। I can play with areas. And here I can play with areas and form both of them. तो मैं building के forms उस हिसाब से cater कर सकता हूँ likewise. So it will give you a basic scenario कि building का form कैसा होगा, at the same time per floor का जो भी आपका एरिया स्टेटमेंट आपको चाहिए तो आप उसको भी इंडिविजुअली उस एरियाज पे वर्क करके इसको सेट कर सकते हैं। सो राइट नाउ फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर फ्लोर इट हैज एन base coverage, or you can say that ground coverage of 670 meters square. Gross floor area as 670 square meters of an area. Gross internal area as 603. So likewise, you can work upon the areas as well. तो जितने भी फ्लोर्स के लिए चाहिए। नाउ वंस दिस मॉडल इज बीन सेट आई कैन गो ऑन फॉर सर्टेन एनालिसिस। तो मैं एक बेसिक एनालिसिस जैसे डे लाइटिंग पोटेंशियल का एनालिसिस रन कर लेता हूँ। So now you can see it generates a analysis of a building model. एक बार मास डेवलप हो जाएगा तो ऑटोमेटिकली उस पे उसके सरफेसेस पे कितने लाइट आ रही है, कहाँ पे लाइट नहीं आ रही है, ये आपको इजीली पता चल जाएगा। तो आप अपने बिल्डिंग एनवेलप को उस हिसाब से डिजाइन कर सकते हैं। कितनी विंडोज देनी है, कितने साइजेस की विंडोज वर्क करेंगी, तो आपको उस चीज का आइडिया लग जाएगा। So I will just open that last analysis. So now you can see the model has its own capabilities. तो फिर आप यहाँ से filter कर सकते हैं कि which has the darkest portions where light won't be receiving according to the form. कहाँ पे easily light receive कर जाएगी daylight. So उस basis पे आप filter out कर सकते हैं कि मेरे को किस portion पे work करना है and where I have to emphasis or focus upon. So this is like more of conceptual analysis tool, form development and analysis. तो ये था एक पहला प्लेटफॉर्म, ये भी डायरेक्टली इंटरकनेक्टेड है। तो अगर मेरे पास मल्टीपल प्रपोजल्स हैं, मतलब मैंने मान लीजिए एक फॉर्म ये बनाया है, दूसरा प्रपोजल मेरा इस तरह का है, तीसरा प्रपोजल कुछ और है, तो मैं इन तीनों में एक कंपैरिजन, ये कंपेयर का टूल है, एंड यूजिंग दोस कंपैरिजन मैं कंपैरिजन डेवलप कर सकता हूँ कि तीनों में मेरे को बेस्ट मॉडल कौन सा फिट बैठेगा। सो लाइकवाइज यू हैव दिस थ्री डॉट्स, और आप इस मॉडल को डायरेक्टली रेविट पे सेंड कर सकते हैं। सो वंस दिस इज डन, पूरी टेरेन की टोपोग्राफी एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट्स आर गोइंग टू शिफ्ट ऑन टू रेविट मॉडल। तो इस तरह से ये इंटरकनेक्टेड है। So this was very first platform where we are developing out the forms, we are doing the conceptual analysis and taking this particular model onto Revit. अब मैं particularly Revit interface की बात करता हूँ। तो सर, in case you all have this installed in your system, आप लोग hands on कर सकते हैं, जहाँ भी टाइम लगेगा आप मुझे वेट करने को बोल सकते हैं, नो इश्यूज इन दैट। तो सबसे पहले सर, आप लोगों के पास है सिस्टम इंस्टॉल्ड की अभी नहीं है राइट नाउ?
है सर। सर नहीं है, जिनके पास नहीं है वो क्या कर। हाँ है सर।
क्योंकि अभी आप लोग इंस्टॉल करने बैठेंगे सो इट इज़ गोइंग टू टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम। तो ये आप नहीं तो कल कर लीजिएगा इन केस, मतलब कल रेडी रखिएगा सिस्टम में, और अभी जिनके पास है वो गो थ्रू करके साथ साथ कर सकते हैं मेरे साथ ही।
सिंदरा सर नहीं है। सर रेविट का ट्रायल वर्जन देते हैं आप लोग ट्रेनिंग के लिए? नहीं।
सर हम नहीं देते हैं, बाकी आप अपने पर्पस के लिए यूज़ कर सकते हैं डेफिनेटली। ऑटोडेस्क की वेबसाइट पर जाके ट्रायल वर्जन इंस्टॉल करके 30 डेज के लिए यूज़ कर सकते हैं प्रोडक्ट को।
ओके, 30 डेज के लिए मिल जाता है।
हाँ हाँ, ऑटोडेस्क की वेबसाइट से डायरेक्टली आप ले सकते हैं उसको
ओके।
ना। तो नाउ वी आर ऑन टू रेविट, और हमारा की फोकस यहाँ पे यही रहेगा कि वी आर गोइंग टू लर्न 4 डिफरेंट थिंग्स। फर्स्ट इज, हमें कौन सा टेम्पलेट यूज करना है, बिकॉज टेम्पलेट मैटर्स इन रेविट अलॉट। सो इफ आई एम वर्किंग ऑन एन आर्किटेक्चरल पार्ट, मेरे को आर्किटेक्चरल टेम्पलेट की सेटिंग्स यूज करनी पड़ेंगी, राइट? ताकि मुझे बार बार डिस्टरबेंस ना हो कि मुझे उसमें सेटिंग्स नहीं करनी पड़ती। इट हैज़ एन ऑटोमेटेड टेम्पलेट विच वर्क्स अपॉन एन आर्किटेक्चरल डिसिप्लिन। सिमिलरली अगर स्ट्रक्चरल पे वर्क करना है तो उसके लिए अपना एक टेम्पलेट है। एमईपी पे तो आपके पास सिस्टम टेम्पलेट्स होते हैं। तो इसमें होता ये है कि पर्टिकुलर कंपोनेंट्स जो आर्किटेक्चरल मॉडल पे वर्क करेंगे वो आपके स्ट्रक्चरल मॉडल पे वर्क नहीं करेंगे। तो आर्किटेक्चरल जो एलिमेंट्स होंगे वो स्ट्रक्चरल टेम्पलेट पे अगर आप काम करोगे तो वो आपको विजिबल नहीं होते, बनते जरूर हैं बट हिडन रहते हैं, कहीं दिखाई नहीं देंगे। सो इन शॉर्ट वो आपके लिए यूजफुल नहीं है समहाउ, राइट? तो सिमिलरली प्रोसेस ये है कि हमें जिस पर्टिकुलर डोमेन में वर्क करना है उस पर्टिकुलर डोमेन में ही उसके कंपोनेंट्स को मॉडल करना है। फिर हम अपनी फाइल को सामने वाले को भेज देंगे, जो भी नेक्स्ट उसको ऑथराइज करता होगा। तो स्ट्रक्चरल मेंबर उस चीज का इनपुट लेगा बाय लिंकिंग दैट पर्टिकुलर फाइल विद इन। तो फिर लिंकिंग सिस्टम वर्क करने लगता है, और उसमें स्ट्रक्चरल जो यूजर है वो पर्टिकुलरली स्ट्रक्चरल कंपोनेंट्स को ही मॉडल करेगा, कॉलम्स, बीम्स, फुटिंग्स, एक्स वाई जेड, जो भी एडिशनल फैक्टर्स हैं। सिमिलरली जब मैं एमईपी वाले के पास जाऊंगा तो वहां पे केवल वो डक्ट्स, फिटिंग्स, इन सब पे बात करता है। तो हर एक चीज को मॉडल करने का हर एक टेम्पलेट है। तो इसीलिए हमें मॉडल्स को लिंक करना है, और राइट नाउ वी आर डीलिंग ओनली विद द आर्किटेक्चरल पोर्शन। तो ऑन टू द लेफ्ट हैंड साइड, तो जो भी एकदम न्यू है इस इंटरफेस के लिए, मैं एकदम बेसिक से स्टार्ट करता हूँ कि वी हैव दिस मॉडल। तो यहाँ से आप प्रोजेक्ट पे बात करते हैं। सो दीज आर द टैब्स वेयर यू आर गोइंग टू लीड ऑन टू प्रोजेक्ट। तो एक है न्यू टैब, तो मैं एक नया प्रोजेक्ट ओपन कर सकता हूँ। सिमिलरली जैसे आपके कैड में ब्लॉक्स होते हैं, तो यहाँ पे 3D फैमिलीज होती हैं। तो इन केस वो आपके सिस्टम में सेव हैं तो आप ओपन करके डायरेक्टली ओपन कर सकते हैं। आपको एक नई फैमिली बनानी है, कस्टम फैमिली बनानी है जो कि आपके पास लाइब्रेरी में नहीं है, तो यू कैन गो विद द ऑप्शन ऑफ न्यू। तो फैमिली में भी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ये आ जाता है कि आप जिस भी तरह का मॉडल कर रहे हैं वो पर्टिकुलर टेम्पलेट पे ही मॉडल करेंगे। अगर मेरे को फर्नीचर बनाना है तो मैं फर्नीचर के टेम्पलेट पे जाके मॉडल करूंगा। मेरे को डोर बनाना है तो मैं डोर के टेम्पलेट पे जाके ओपन करूंगा। मैं डोर के टेम्पलेट को फर्नीचर के टेम्पलेट पे मॉडल नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि वो मुझे कैपेबिलिटीज देगा ही नहीं कि मैं उसको मॉडल कर पाऊँ। तो अपने काम को इजी करने के लिए आपको सुटेबल टेम्पलेट्स का यूज करना है, इन शॉर्ट। तो सबसे फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड बी गोइंग डायरेक्टली ऑन टू द प्रोजेक्ट। तो फर्स्ट थिंग इज न्यू प्रोजेक्ट पे गया। अब यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो देर आर मल्टी थिंग्स, वन इज मैट्रिक एंड इम्पीरियल। इसने और कुछ ज़्यादा दिया नहीं है, राइट। तो इम्पीरियल इज जब आपको फिट एंड इंचेस में काम करना हो। मैट्रिक इज मोर ऑफ यू हैव टू वर्क ऑन मिलीमीटर्स एंड मीटर्स। तो हम मैट्रिक टेम्पलेट को यूज करेंगे, बट यहाँ पे आप देखोगे दिस इज मल्टी डिसिप्लिन। तो मैं इसको सजेस्ट करूंगा कि अभी यूज ना करें। तो जहाँ पे भी हमारी लाइब्रेरीज स्टोर होंगी, जहाँ पे भी जब हमने सॉफ्टवेयर इंस्टॉल किया होगा तो हमारी लाइब्रेरीज ऑटोमेटिकली इंस्टॉल्ड हो जाती हैं। तो हम वहाँ से टेम्पलेट पिकअप करेंगे देन। तो ब्राउज में अगर मैं जाता हूँ, सो आई कैन चूज ऑन टू द ब्राउज। अब आप ये देखोगे ये मुझे पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन पे लेके चले गया जहाँ पे पूरा प्रोग्राम डेटा इसका स्टोर होता है वहाँ पे। तो मेरे को वर्क करना है पर्टिकुलरली मैट्रिक यूनिट्स पे, दैट इज मीटर्स, मिलीमीटर्स एंड सो ऑन, जो कि स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड वर्क भी होता है। तो अब मैं जाता हूँ इंग्लिश में, और यहाँ से मेरे पास टेम्पलेट्स के ऑप्शंस हैं। आई हैव एन नंबर ऑफ टेम्पलेट्स टू यूज। आप देख सकते हो इलेक्ट्रिकल के लिए आपको इलेक्ट्रिकल डिफॉल्ट मैट्रिक का यूज करना पड़ेगा। सिमिलरली स्ट्रक्चरल एनालिसिस के लिए यू हैव स्ट्रक्चरल एनालिसिस डिफॉल्ट मैट्रिक। तो अभी मुझे केवल मॉडल करना है आर्किटेक्चरल एंड स्ट्रक्चरल। तो मैं एक जेनरिक टेम्पलेट यूज कर रहा हूँ जिसका नाम है डिफॉल्ट मैट्रिक। तो इसमें मैं स्ट्रक्चरल एलिमेंट को भी मॉडल कर सकता हूँ एज वेल एज आर्किटेक्चरल को भी मॉडल कर सकता हूँ, क्योंकि ये कोई स्पेसिफिक टेम्पलेट नहीं है कि ये आर्किटेक्चरल टेम्पलेट ही है। बट आप इसको एज एन आर्किटेक्चरल टेम्पलेट वर्क कर सकते हो, क्योंकि आप केवल आर्किटेक्चरल मॉडल्स को ही वहाँ पे मॉडल करेंगे बेसिकली। स्ट्रक्चरल वाला मेंबर केवल स्ट्रक्चरल को ही करेगा, तो वो भी इस पर्टिकुलर टेम्पलेट को यूज करते हुए मॉडल कर सकते हैं बेसिकली। तो मैं डिफॉल्ट मैट्रिक टेम्पलेट चूज करता हूँ एंड देन आई कैन गो फॉर ओपन ऑप्शन। सो नाउ यू कैन सी कि टेम्पलेट फाइल जो थी वो सेट हो गई है डिफॉल्ट मैट्रिक। आई कैन गो फॉर ओके। तो अब मैं अपने प्रोजेक्ट पे आ गया हूँ, और बेसिक्स इसके ये हैं कि मैं जो भी एलिमेंट, आप ऊपर देख सकते हो अंदर द आर्किटेक्चर टैब यू हैव एन नंबर ऑफ एलिमेंट्स टू मॉडल विथ। यहाँ से आप मॉडल्स को एलिमेंट करेंगे, एलिमेंट्स को मॉडल मॉडल बनाने के लिए यूज करेंगे। लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे आपके पास प्रॉपर्टीज है, तो जो भी एलिमेंट मैं यहाँ ड्रॉ करूंगा उसकी प्रॉपर्टीज यहाँ पे आएंगी सब कुछ। जिस लेवल पे मैं वर्क कर रहा हूँ वो आपके प्रोजेक्ट ब्राउजर के अंडर में राइट हैंड साइड पे आपको दिखाई देगा, या कुछ लोगों के में वो चीज यहाँ पे ही इसके नीचे ही दिखाई देती है। तो ये मैंने सेट किया है, जब वो यहाँ आ रहा था तो मैंने उसको जस्ट यहाँ पे सुपर इम्पोज कर दिया। तो वो मेरी डिफॉल्ट सेटिंग्स ऑटोमेटिकली बन गई हैं सिस्टम को लेके। सो नाउ फर्स्ट थिंग इज मेरे को प्रोजेक्ट की यूनिट सेट करनी है। अभी तो मैंने मैट्रिक टेम्पलेट लिया था, अब मैं चेक करता हूँ कि इस पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट की यूनिट्स हैं क्या। सो आई कैन टाइप UN। जैसे भी मैंने UN टाइप किया आपके पास यूनिट्स का पोर्शन आ जाता है। राइट नाउ यू कैन सी कि डिस्टेंस में सेंटीमीटर्स है, लेंथ में मिलीमीटर्स है। तो मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि मुझे मीटर्स पे काम करना है, और 2 डेसिमल प्लेसेस तक की वैल्यू मुझे चाहिए, लाइक 3 मीटर्स। तो अगर 3.32 है तो 3.32 शो करेगा। सो 2 प्लेसेस ऑफ डेसिमल्स तक मैं उसको राउंड ऑफ कर देता हूँ। सिमिलरली मैं लेंथ को भी चेंज कर देता हूँ, मीटर्स एंड 2 डेसिमल प्लेसेस। आई विल डू ओके। सो अब मैंने प्रोजेक्ट का यूनिट्स को एस्टेब्लिश कर दिया है, विच इज मैट्रिक यूनिट्स, मीटर्स में वर्क कर रहे हैं, और उसका प्रिसिशन कितना होगा, कितने डेसिमल प्लेसेस तक की वैल्यू चाहिए, वो आप डिसाइड कर सकते हो, राइट। सेकेंड थिंग, अब हम प्रोजेक्ट पे आते हैं कि अगर मुझे G+2 रेसिडेंशियल बिल्डिंग बनानी है या कुछ भी मुझे बनाना है, सो फर्स्ट थिंग आई एम गोइंग टू डिसाइड इज एट व्हाट लेवल्स द थिंग्स आर गोइंग टू बी। तो अगर मैं शुरुआत करता हूँ कि नेचुरल ग्राउंड लेवल इज 0 0, देन मेरा plinth level is at 450 or 600, then I will be having my ground floor का slab at 3300, something like this। तो ये आपको प्री डिसाइड करके रखना पड़ेगा क्योंकि आप प्रोजेक्ट वहां से ही स्टार्ट करोगे। सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, आप राइट हैंड साइड पे देख सकते हो कि आई हैव फ्लोर प्लान्स, सो दीज आर दी फ्लोर प्लान्स। तो ये अभी मैं लेवल 1 पे वर्क कर रहा हूँ। सिमिलरली अगर मैं डबल क्लिक करता हूँ लेवल 2 पे, तो मेरा लेवल 2 एक्टिवेट हो जाता है कि मैं अब लेवल 2 पे वर्क कर रहा हूँ। मैं वापस
सर इस
लेवल
पे ये कोऑर्डिनेट कैसे सेट करेंगे स्टार्ट करने से पहले?
कोऑर्डिनेट, साइट कोऑर्डिनेट की बात कर रहे हैं आप कि
हाँ सर,
बेसिकली साइट
साइड
कोऑर्डिनेट्स की बात?
कोऑर्डिनेट।
राइट। तो फर्स्ट थिंग इज, इसमें भी दो चीजें आती हैं जो कि अभी मैं लेके जाने वाला था। फर्स्ट इज कि अगर आपको कैड का सर्वे प्लान मिलता है इन केस, ठीक है, तो आप क्या करोगे, उस कैड की ड्राइंग्स से रेविट पे कोऑर्डिनेट को एक्वायर करोगे ताकि वहां पे कैड फाइल में जो भी वैल्यूज हैं वो आपकी इसमें ऑटोमेटिकली एम्बेडेड हो जाएं। सेकेंडली, आपके पास ये साइट का ऑप्शन है। तो एज सुन एज आई गो ऑन टू साइट, आप ये दो बार्स देख रहे हैं, राइट? वन इज प्रोजेक्ट बेस पॉइंट एंड अदर इज प्रोजेक्ट सर्वे पॉइंट। तो इन दोनों का यूटिलाइजेशन मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा कि करना कैसे है, बट दैट इज मैं आ रहा हूँ उसमें धीरे धीरे कि इनको इस्टेब्लिश करते हुए हमें साइट पे वर्क कैसे करना है बेसिकली, राइट। और अगर मैं लेवल 1 पे आता हूँ तो मैं लेवल 1 एक्टिवेटेड है। तो जैसे मैंने बोला कि वी हैव टू डिफाइन कि बिल्डिंग की हाइट्स होंगी क्या, एंड बिल्डिंग के प्री डिफाइंड टर्मिनोलॉजीज एज वेल एज उनकी जो भी कंस्ट्रेंट्स हैं वो कितने कितने होने वाले हैं, ये आपको याद पता होना चाहिए। तो वैसे ही सीलिंग प्लान्स हैं, तो जो भी मैं सीलिंग पे काम करूंगा मैं पर्टिकुलरली इन लेवल्स पे आके वर्क करूंगा। एलिवेशंस आप देख सकते हो, ये जो चार चीजें आपको दिख रही हैं, दीज आर कैमरास। सो दिस इज नॉर्थ, दिस इज साउथ, दिस इज ईस्ट एंड दिस इज वेस्ट बाय डिफॉल्ट। तो अगर मैं ईस्ट एलिवेशन में जाता हूँ, सो नाउ यू कैन सी कि मेरे पास दो लेवल्स हैं ऑटोमेटिकली। लेवल 1 जो कि आपको फ्लोर प्लान पे दिख रहा है, लेवल 1, लेवल 2 दिख रहा है, राइट। और आप इसके बीच का डिस्टेंसेस भी अपने हिसाब से मैनेज कर सकते हैं। सपोज मैंने इसको नेमिंग दी कि दिस इज, डबल क्लिक करके, कि दिस इज नेचुरल ग्राउंड लेवल, NGL। सो नाउ यू कैन सी कि मेरे पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट फ्लोर प्लान्स पे भी वो चीज़ NGL के थ्रू रिप्रेजेंटेड हो गई, राइट। सिमिलरली अगर मैं इसको प्लिंथ लेवल देना चाहता हूँ तो मैं प्लिंथ लेवल दे सकता हूँ। प्लिंथ, दिस इज प्लिंथ लेवल। तो आपका यहाँ पे भी ऑटोमेटिकली वो चीज़ अपडेट होते जा रही है। सपोज अभी मैं 0 पे हूँ नेचुरल ग्राउंड लेवल, एंड प्लिंथ लेवल इज एट 4 मीटर्स, क्योंकि हमने यूनिट्स मीटर्स पे सेट की हुई हैं। तो अगर मुझे 450 या 600 करना है इसको, तो मेरा ये बेस तो फिक्स है, तो मैं इसको मूव नहीं कर सकता। आई विल बी मूविंग अपर लेवल्स अकॉर्डिंग टू माई ओन सेटिंग्स जो कि मुझे चाहिए। तो राइट नाउ मैंने सेकंड लेवल को सिलेक्ट किया हुआ है, और यहाँ पे मैं वैल्यू को दैट इज मीटर्स में 0.6 हो जाएगा, 600 mm, राइट। तो ये ऑटोमेटिकली शिफ्ट हो गया। यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा कर्सर आता है, आप इसके हिसाब से इसको भी पर्टिकुलरली वेरी कर सकते हैं। तो अब मैंने दो चीजें सेट कर ली हैं। फर्स्ट थिंग इज NGL विच इज एट 0 0। सेकेंड थिंग इज एट प्लिंथ लेवल जो कि मेरा 600 mm, दैट इज 0.6 मीटर्स पे है। अब मुझे ग्राउंड फ्लोर का स्लैब चाहिए। सो अंडर द आर्किटेक्चर टैब आई हैव दिस ऑप्शन ऑफ क्रिएटिंग द लेवल्स। दो चीजें हैं इसमें भी कि अगर मैं डायरेक्टली बनाता हूं तो आप देखोगे कि यहाँ पे ब्लैक आ रहा है, राइट। दैट मीन्स द एलिवेशंस इज इनएक्टिवेटेड। तो अब मैं पर्टिकुलरली इस लेवल को नाम दे सकता हूँ कि दिस इज ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब। तो मैं केवल टाइप कर देता हूँ GFS। सो दिस इज ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब। और प्लिंथ लेवल से ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब आई विल से कि 3 मीटर्स पे, सो आई कैन फिक्स इट अकॉर्डिंगली। तो मेरा बेस फिक्स हो गया, उसके ऊपर वाला बेस फिक्स हो गया, ग्राउंड फ्लोर का स्लैब जहाँ पे आना है वो चीज़ फिक्स हो गई। अब मुझे और भी ऊपर चीज़ें फिक्स करनी है, तो अब मैं फर्स्ट फ्लोर का स्लैब ले लेता हूँ। सो लेट मी टेक फर्स्ट फ्लोर स्लैब FFS। तो ये भी मुझे 3 मीटर्स की हाइट पे चाहिए इस पर्टिकुलर लेवल से। सो नाउ मेरे लेवल्स ऑटोमेटिकली सेट होते जा रहे हैं, राइट। अब आप दो चीजें देखेंगे, दिस इज लाइक ब्लू, राइट। इट मीन्स कि ये दोनों एक्टिव आपके व्यूज हैं जो कि आपको आपके फ्लोर प्लान्स पे विजिबल हो रहे हैं। बट जो मैंने न्यू लेवल्स बनाए हुए हैं वो अभी एक्टिवेटेड नहीं है, दे आर इनएक्टिव, दे आर रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय ब्लैक एंटाइटीज। तो इसको एक्टिवेट करने के लिए यू हैव टू गो ऑन टू व्यू, and under the view you have this plan views का option, you can go with this। हम फ्लोर प्लान्स में उस चीज को अपीयर कराना चाहते हैं, तो मैं ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब और फर्स्ट फ्लोर स्लैब दोनों को सिलेक्ट कर लेता हूँ और मैं ओपन करता हूँ। सो अब देख रहे हैं आप कि फ्लोर प्लान्स में भी दो एडिशनल व्यूज एक्टिवेटेड हो गए हैं, राइट। सो दिस इज हाउ फर्स्ट वी हैव टू set the elevations and then we have to manage our floor plan as well। तो अब अगर मैं अपने एलिवेशंस पे जाता हूँ तो मैं मॉडल करना शुरू करूंगा। सपोज मैं वॉल्स को मॉडल करना शुरू कर रहा हूँ, तो मुझे वॉल्स कहाँ से कहाँ तक ले जानी है ये मुझे डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा, राइट। तो मान लीजिए मेरी मेरी वॉल जा रही है प्लिंथ से ग्राउंड फ्लोर के स्लैब तक। हालांकि जाएगी नहीं क्योंकि बीम्स भी आएंगे कॉलम्स भी आएंगे, बट मैं एक कॉन्सेप्ट बता रहा हूँ जनरल, कि मुझे अगर वॉल प्लिंथ लेवल से ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब के लेवल तक ले जाना है, तो मेरा बेस हुआ प्लिंथ, मेरा टॉप हुआ ग्राउंड फ्लोर का स्लैब, राइट। तो मुझे वो चीज़ों को डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा। तो अब मैं वर्क कहाँ करूँगा, क्योंकि मुझे बेस चाहिए मेरा प्लिंथ लेवल पे। सो आई विल बी क्लिकिंग ऑन द प्लिंथ फ्लोर प्लान और मेरा प्लिंथ फ्लोर प्लान एक्टिवेट हो गया है। अब मुझे वॉल बनानी है, सो WA इज द कमांड फॉर शॉर्टकट, और मैं वॉल्स को ड्रॉ कर सकता हूँ, राइट। अब इसमें भी दो चीजें हैं देखने के लिए। अगर मैं पूरी वॉल्स को सिलेक्ट करता हूँ, किसी भी वॉल को सिलेक्ट किया मान लीजिए, तो अभी आपको ये लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में प्रॉपर्टीज दिखाएगी कि वॉल का नाम क्या है। सो दिस इज लाइक बेसिक वॉल। आपको और एडिशनल इनपुट्स देने हैं, प्लास्टर क्या होगा, कितने साइज का होगा, सब कुछ किया जा सकता है ऑन गोइंग ऑन टू एडिट टाइप स्ट्रक्चर। ओके, अब पर्टिकुलरली ये वॉल अगर मैं आपको 3D में दिखाऊं, सो गोइंग ऑन टू 3D, ये आप देखेंगे वॉल्स कुछ इस तरह से बनी है। बट मैं चाहता क्या था, मेरी वॉल्स बने प्लिंथ लेवल से ग्राउंड फ्लोर के स्लैब तक। और अगर मैं अभी देख रहा हूं इसको, तो आई हैव सिलेक्टेड दी वॉल, तो मेरा बेस तो प्लिंथ है, बट मेरा जो टॉप है इट इज अनकनेक्टेड, वो 8 मीटर की हाइट तक गया हुआ है। और मुझे चाहिए कहाँ तक था, ग्राउंड फ्लोर के स्लैब तक। तो मैं उसके टॉप को, इस पर्टिकुलर वॉल के टॉप को, आई विल मेक इट एज ग्राउंड फ्लोर का स्लैब। तो जैसे भी मैंने उसको ग्राउंड फ्लोर का स्लैब बनाया है, वो ऑटोमेटिकली जितना हमने एलिवेशंस पे हाइट सेट की थी 3 मीटर्स की, तो आप देखोगे कि इट ऑटोमेटिकली टेक्स दैट हाइट एज 3 मीटर, क्योंकि अभी ये प्लिंथ लेवल से ग्राउंड फ्लोर के स्लैब तक रिस्ट्रिक्ट हो गया है। और वहां पे कंस्ट्रेंट लग गया है कि अब ये वॉल प्लिंथ से शुरू होकर ग्राउंड फ्लोर के स्लैब तक जाएगी। दो तरीके हैं इसके भी, कि आप इसको भी सब वॉल्स को इवेंचुअली राइट क्लिक करके सिलेक्ट ऑल इंस्टेंसेस विजिबल इन व्यू कर लीजिए और सबकी प्रॉपर्टीज को इकट्ठा चेंज कर लीजिए, तो ऑटोमेटिकली सब चेंज हो जाएंगे। सेकंड ऑप्शन आपके पास आता है मैच करने का, जैसे आप कैड में यूज करते हैं। सो MA इज एंटर करेंगे, इसके टॉप सरफेस को सिलेक्ट करेंगे और बाकी सब के टॉप सरफेसेस को सिलेक्ट करते जाएंगे। तो वो एस आप कैड में मैच करते हैं उसी तरह से ये रेविट पे मैच कर देगा चीज़ों को सेम प्रॉपर्टीज के साथ। तो यहाँ तक किसी को कोई डाउट तो पूछ सकते हैं। फिर क्योंकि इसके बाद हम मूव ऑन करेंगे सर्टेन
Excuse me.
अदर।
This is the architectural level, na? If we have to add the beams in the column,
Then you have to add those beam bottom, or likewise you have to have those particular levels to be defined.
so it should be defined at the initial level, yeah, after the architectural plans we should then define.
it should be defined at the initial level itself according to you, as you have started the architectural drawings directly. तो आप एक बेसिक ले सकते हो कि 300 डेप्थ और 450 would be depth. Then you can cross that and can make it accordingly. You can set up those levels accordingly. Then once that drawing is being sent to an structural member, according to the load calculation and all, he will be establishing what exactly would be the beam depth और the column sizes accordingly. तो आप टेंटेटिव तो इसको प्लेस करके डेफिनेटली कर सकते हो, क्योंकि
Okay.
आपको इसमें स्पेसेस को प्लान करना पड़ेगा, राइट? यू हैव टू डिफाइन दोज स्पेसेस, व्हाट विल बी इट्स विड्थ एंड लेंथ, व्हाट स्पेस इज. तो आपको उसको प्रेजेंटेशन ड्राइंग और अ कॉमन प्लानिंग यू कैन से, तो यू हैव टू एस्टैब्लिश दोज थिंग्स फर्स्ट ऑन टू द रेविट पार्ट ऑफ इट, देन यू हैव टू शेयर द ड्राइंग टू एन स्ट्रक्चरल मेंबर. तो मैं अभी भी इन केस मुझे यहाँ पे भी करना है, सो आई कैन गो विथ कॉपी ऑप्शन और अगेन बाय क्रिएटिंग अ लेवल ऑप्शन. तो मैं एक पर्टिकुलर डेप्थ पे उसको बीम बॉटम रख सकता हूँ से, लेट्स हैव इट एज 300, सॉरी 0.3. So now this level for me becomes
And it will show here the finish levels.
not yet.
Not yet.
So, yeah, not yet. So for those particular details, we have certain other options, like we have an Alexa tool. So what it actually does is, हमें इसमें इतनी माइनर डिटेल्स के लिए हम कर सकते हैं. डेफिनेटली यू कैन क्रिएट वन मोर लेवल फॉर फ्लोर फिनिश, बट दैट विल बिकम क्वाइट हैक्टिक इन sort of working with Revit. तो eventually
But when we go for the any staircase part, then how we will connect at the structural levels?
Yeah, for example, now if I have to add those finish floor levels, as soon I will be doing it with this particular thing like floor option. फ्लोर ऑप्शंस में आपके पास स्ट्रक्चर आ जाता है, तो स्ट्रक्चर में ऊपर आप फ्लोरिंग की लेयर्स को ऐड कर सकते हैं. सो दैट विल एक्ट फॉर द कैलकुलेशंस और स्केड्यूल आउट क्वांटिटीज बेसिस. बट हम उसके लिए पर्टिकुलरली लेवल क्रिएट नहीं करते हैं कभी भी.
At this level, what levels we are then defining here?
Where
At this stage, like you have giving the from plane to GF ground floor is 3.6. So it is the structure level or the finished level?
it's the finish level, finish to finish.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So you can define all those things like I have this wall property. I will be selecting those walls, right? I can go on to edit type, and under this I have an structure option where I can edit this further beyond. So like now it has no materials assigned to it. You can assign materials from here directly. So these are number of predefined materials that is there within the library, and these are the render purposes what it works with. तो ये सब हाँ इवेंचुअली हम कर सकते हैं कि रेंडर अपीयरेंसेस को बना दिया हमें, रिप्रेजेंटेशन के सॉर्ट में सरफेस में कट लाइन में कौन सा पैटर्न चाहिए हम उसको एम्बेड कर सकते हैं. इफ दैट नीड्स टू बी अपीयर्ड विद सर्टेन अदर कलर्स, कलर्स डिफाइन कर सकते हैं. बैकग्राउंड में कौन सा लेयर होगा उसको डिफाइन कर सकते हैं एंड सो ऑन. सो जैसे यहाँ पे कैटेगरी वाइज में 0.2 इज द थिकनेस ऑफ इट. सो ओवर हियर आई वाज शोइंग यू like I can add certain more layers, right? And I can make this layer as a finish layer, and I can push this up. So now I have a central core structural layer as 0. I have a finish layer as 0.2. So I can do one thing. I can say this will be my structural base, which will be the wall like brick or concrete, whatsoever it is. Then I would be having a plaster finish on both of the sides. So I can go with those particular 0.05 or 0.1 whatsoever, 0.05 say, and I can choose this as plaster. So you can develop those or you can have those plaster material within and you can embed it. So this is how, like if you need to work on particular layers and finish levels, so you can create those sort of levels within and outside. So right now, this is the core and I can go for the preview option. So you can see at one end it has the layer of finish. Other side also, if I add this domain, and I can bring it downwards. So, and if I convert it back to finish level with a thickness of again 0.05. So now you can see onto the preview side that both of the core is my structural part and both of these are finished. So I have to impart those materials accordingly. So this is how same with the floors you have to do. So
And excuse me, if we have to add some glass panels on the walls for the griha, like, so how can we do that?
glasses onto walls directly.
Uh,
So that becomes the part of family. It doesn't has any direct incorporated things, like it has certain options with curtain walls. Like if I move on to architecture, I have certain options of working with the curtain grids and walls. So in that particular case, if you need a opening with a complete glass fixed, so you have to move on to family type. You have to generate that family, load that family into the project, and then you can work upon. So if I just have, for example, there is system undefined families. If I just go on for windows, see, and there are predefined windows automatically. So these are like default. So whatsoever you require, you can fix it. If you need to customize it, so it is not in the inbuilt system or the system families, then you have to create on a particular template according to your own specifications. You have to create that window, load it into a project, whether it is glass based or lion based or whatsoever window, sliding window or um, openable, single folding openable windows, flush windows. So likewise, we have to model them onto a particular template and bring them onto the project. Similarly, if I just need to move on for having my stair, so I can choose that particular sort of stair anyhow. I can define from which base level to which floor finish level it is going. So it's automatically taking a desired height of 3. It is counting the number of risers to it, actual tread depth. So eventually right now the assembly is 190 mm maximum riser, 250 mm thickness is the tread width. So now if you need to change this, and so you can go on to edit type, you won't be changing anything here directly. First thing is, because this is a system family and this is a type which is related to that particular family. That means it is at 190 mm, right? It has a riser of 190 mm and 250 mm is the tread depth. So now if I need 150 or something like this, I will be duplicating this first and I will be developing a other type. So say 150 mm is the riser and 300 is the tread. So I have developed a type now. Now I will be modifying the changes over here. So now this particular becomes, and let me say the landing width would be 1.5 meters. That means 5 fits. Let's take it as 4 feet, 1.2 meters. Apply and OK. And I will be starting it to modify. So now once I try to draw it, you can see how many risers are created at the bottom and how many are remaining. So likewise, if 10 are remaining, I can go with this option. I can develop this. Likewise, if I don't need any space in between, I can specify DI. I can specify particular things. I can select this, dimension activates, and now I can change that particular dimensions. Temporary dimension. I can set for move command. It's not getting activated. One second. Just have this. So now if I just see this, so this will be something like this. Then you can have, so this becomes a part of again hosted families, and then we can remove wherever it is not required, these railings and all. So we can remove them by deleting it, and we can work upon.
सर इसको मल्टी लेवल तक कैसे कर सकते हैं?
जस्ट इसको सिलेक्ट करेंगे आप किसी भी चीज़ को, जैसे मैं ग्राउंड फ्लोर पे ही जाता हूँ, इस पर्टिकुलर चीज़ पे किया, आई हैव दिस ऑप्शन ऑफ कॉपी, मैंने कॉपी किया एंड किस लेवल तक मुझे प्लेस करना है तो मैं उस पर्टिकुलर लेवल्स तक ले सकता हूँ उस चीज़ को। तो सपोज फर्स्ट फ्लोर फिनिश लेवल तक मुझे लेना है, सो दिस हैज बीन कॉपीड मल्टीपल टाइम्स, दो कॉपीज हो गई उसकी वहां पे, राइट। तो आपको जो जहां मतलब यहाँ से ही कंटिन्यू होके करते तो अपन फर्स्ट प्लिंथ से ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब तक गई है, देन अगेन ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब से फर्स्ट फ्लोर स्लैब तक जाएगी, तो लाइकवाइज जस्ट कॉपी करके पेस्ट करना
ओके
है ना। तो ये जैसे ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब से मुझे फर्स्ट फ्लोर के स्लैब तक चाहिए था। रेलिंग स्लाइडिंग एंड सपोर्ट्स, तो इस तरह से आप ऑटोमेटिकली उसको एडजस्ट कर सकते हो, तो जिस लेवल से जिस लेवल तक ले जाना है यू कैन जस्ट कॉपी एंड पेस्ट मींस अलाइन टू अ सिलेक्टेड लेवल। तो यहाँ पे जितने भी लेवल्स आपने क्रिएट किए होंगे यू कैन अलाइन देम अकॉर्डिंगली सेम वे, राइट। इसमें अब एक पार्ट पे आते हैं जहाँ पे हम प्रेजेंटेशन ड्राइंग्स की बात करते हैं। तो दिस इज लाइक फ्लोर प्लान्स एंड मान लीजिए मैं इसको और थोड़ा इंटरनली डिवाइडेड कर देता हूँ, राइट। मैं कुछ रूम्स बना देता हूँ इसमें, और फर्दर और भी अगर इंटरनल वॉल्स 100 की हैं तो अगेन मैं एडिट टाइप पे जाऊंगा, आई विल डुप्लीकेट इट एंड आई विल क्रिएट इट एज 100 mm वॉल नाउ। और ब्रिक वॉल है तो और भी स्पेसिफिक कर सकते हैं कि दिस कैन बी ब्रिक वॉल विच इज 100 mm थिक। एडिट पे जाके ब्रिक का मटेरियल चूज कर सकते हैं एंड देन आई विल मेक इट एज 0.1। तो नाउ मैंने उस पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम फैमिली पे एडिट नहीं किया, मैंने एक और टाइप जनरेट कर लिया और अब मुझे बनाना है, सो दिस विल बी लाइक 100 mm एंड देन अलाइन टूल यूज कर सकते हैं अलाइन करने के लिए। फर्दर पार्टीशंस डिवाइड कर सकते हैं, दिस बिकम सर्टेन रूम मान लीजिए, और एक रूम यहाँ से भी बना देते हैं। सो अभी ये मैं प्लिंथ लेवल पे वर्क कर रहा हूँ बट मैंने हाइट्स डिफाइन नहीं की थी। सो अगेन फॉर क्योंकि मैंने 100 mm की बनाई है, सो आई कैन सिलेक्ट ऑल इंस्टेंसेस विजिबल इन व्यू। इस पर्टिकुलर व्यू में जितने भी सेम टाइप की चीजें होंगी दैट विल गेट हाईलाइटेड। फिर मैं यहाँ से उसको चेंज कर सकता हूँ अंडर द प्रॉपर्टीज दैट आई हैव टू टेक फ्रॉम प्लिंथ लेवल टू ग्राउंड फ्लोर स्लैब, so that will automatically be adjusted accordingly. If I need to place doors, we have the loadable families, even we have the system families. तो अभी आप देखोगे कि 915 by 2134 mm, which is US based standard. तो आप इसका again type बना के, you have multiple types, और भी कोई type particularly बनाना हो 900 internal to 2100 internal opening, so likewise you can do all those things। और अभी मैं यही सिलेक्ट कर लेता हूँ, तो जिस भी डायरेक्शन में मुझे प्लेस करना होगा I can place it by pressing the space की को प्रेस कर दे रहा हूँ. देन आप जब भी इसको सिलेक्ट करेंगे इवेंचुअली यू गेट एन टेम्पररी डायमेंशंस. तो अगर ये डोर मुझे इस पर्टिकुलर एज से 8 इंचेस या मान लीजिए 0.2 मीटर्स की दूरी पे चाहिए, तो मैं ऑटोमेटिकली इस डायमेंशन को 0.2 कर दूंगा, तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली शिफ्ट हो जाएगा अपने एंड पे. राइट. सो दीज आर सर्टेन अदर एस्पेक्ट्स. और भी अगर मुझे डबल डोर लगाना है फॉर एग्जांपल, सो आई कैन गो ऑन टू इंसर्ट, आई कैन लोड अ फैमिली. 25 वर्जन में मेरे पास है नहीं आई गेस लोडेबल फैमिलीज. I would be having them on 24 version. Yeah. Program data. Revit 24 libraries, English metric libraries. So these are certain, like you can download eventually from Autodesk website. You can also download Indian standard families, US and UK based. Let's have door for the residential. Let's have something for three-way. Okay, this is sliding sort of door. Open. So whenever I open for this particular family, it asks for number of sizes that you need. Suppose I need these two sizes to be on my project. It has been loaded. Now if I type door dr, now you can see those particular two-way doors has been appeared. तो जिस भी डायरेक्शन में लगाना हो, you can just flip it accordingly by pressing the space bar. You can have these things. Right. So this is how we have to place all those components. अब मैं बात करता हूँ कि इसमें टैगिंग कैसे होगी. For tagging or a particular dimensions that needs to be given, हमें रूम को टैग करना पड़ेगा इवेंचुअली. जैसे हम टेक्स्ट के थ्रू कैड में लिख देते हैं कि दिस पर्टिकुलर रूम इज हॉल or living room with particular dimensions, so that we have to tag those spaces onto Revit. Under the architectural tab, I have an option for room tagging. I will click on this and I can specify from upper limit is the plinth level and its offset is 4. Right, so I need to specify. Right now I'm in at the plinth level and I have to specify this till ground floor slab and my offset will become 0. So now this is tagging the space from ground plinth level to ground floor slab level. तो मैं eventually, so for this you should have an enclosed area basically. और अगर आपको spaces को separate भी करना है, so you can go on to this room separator. तो ये केवल एक lines के through आपके room को separate कर देता है. So this is like now circulation area. This becomes another other sort of area. So it is going to tag this area as well. And this area acts as a separate space. So by using those separators also, you can tag this. So if I just keep this as office 1, say office 1, this is office 2, just giving it a random name. Let's have it as a room itself. Right. Now, in order to present it onto a presentation drawing, what I will be doing is I will be going and right clicking on this and I will be duplicating this view with duplicate option or with detailing. So detailing is done when you have all those annotations, dimensions, lines, grid lines. If you need all those elements to be duplicated as well, you will be going with the option of duplicate with detailing. अगर केवल डुप्लीकेट करना है, केवल आपको रफ इंटरफेस का आउटर शेल चाहिए, तो यू कैन गो विद द ऑप्शन ऑफ डुप्लीकेट जस्ट, तो यहाँ पे प्लिंथ कॉपी का डुप्लीकेट हो गया. आई कैन रीनेम दिस and I will be saying this plinth drawing is for the presentation purpose. And from the annotate tab, I have option for colorful legends. And I have tagged the spaces according to rooms, what I have chosen. And I want the name of rooms to be displayed. So now you can see it automatically creates a color code, and you can also change those color codes accordingly by going here and edit type. You can do all those activities, but now this is like a legend for the presentation part. And if you even need the names to it, you can go again onto the architecture tab. You can tag those rooms. So automatically, whatsoever you have tagged it there, it will eventually appear here as well. So this is how we have to work with the presentation part as well. So we have to create a separate view out of it, and we have to keep adding. So whatsoever is the text added is a part of 2D family. So here it acts as a 2D family again. अगर मैं इसको डबल क्लिक करके जाऊंगा तो मेरी 2D family ओपन हो जाएगी. और once the 2D family gets opened, मैं उसमें जो भी information चाहिए. Right now information is it's representing the name of an space. It's giving it a number as well. So there are two parameters which are associated with particularly with tagging those spaces onto 2D family. अगर मैं कुछ और भी ऐड करता हूँ, for example, if I move on to 2D family, I add the area to a room. So it will also give a area associated with a floor space. तो इस तरह से you can modify certain things. We will be looking at that particular thing later on कि areas 2D families में additions कैसे किए जा सकते हैं, what will be volume to an room, what will be the area associated with room. We can define all those things onto the 2D part of family. Similarly, if I need to tag this doors and all, same things can be done. I have the option for tagging the door as well. So you can tag all is the option whenever you go with annotate part. So annotate pe jaake, I need the doors to be tagged, right? So I can just go on apply. Now you can see the door has been tagged as 1, 2, 3, right? So it is right now, again, this becomes a part of 2D family. अगर मैं double click करता हूँ तो मेरे पास 2D family open हो जाती है, और इसमें जो भी information है वो आपको show होगी कि इसमें क्या information है. So if I move on to edit, this is the mark type property which is been shown in the project. अगर मुझे डोर्स को नेम करना है कि मान लीजिए 900 बाय 2100 का डोर्स एक्ट एज अ D1 डोर, तो जितने भी डोर्स मेरे प्रोजेक्ट पे सेम साइज के होंगे 900 बाय 2100, उनमें सब में नेमिंग हो जाएगी D1 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 एंड सो ऑन. सिमिलरली कोई और टाइप का डोर है 1200 by 2100 or 2400. So this is other type of door. So rather than implicating it with mark, I will remove this mark and I will add a property which is known as type mark. So eventually once if it is there with type mark, so all the doors with the same type, with the same name will have a common mark value which is named as D1 or D2. Right? And I can click on apply and OK. And again, I can load it into the project. So now you can see it resembles a name named as 20. If I just select this door and edit type. So under this property, this type mark has appeared. And now I will type it as D1. So this becomes D1, right? Now these two of the doors are of same size and same type. That means same type. So the sizes are also same. So it has a common name or a type mark value, which is 40 and 40. Again, pick on the door, go on to edit type and change the name from 40 to D2. Now, eventually all those doors with the same type will appear as D2. So this is how we have to tag those spaces and we have to work with the presentation sort of drawing and working drawing as well. Now, in today's part, we are also going to see the two most important things, that is how to acquire a coordinate and how to publish a coordinate accordingly. So whenever we are starting up with a survey CAD file, or we have to model it according to that survey or a CAD file, we can easily model it up, right? So how to do that, we will be looking at that. So now I'm closing this particular interface and I'm going to reopen it uh, to showcase you with acquiring coordinates part with CAD model. So any doubts so far with respect to this? You can ask the questions. We'll take 5-minute break and then we'll begin with the CAD part. So now we will be starting with how to acquire the coordinates and establish our own coordinates to start a project with a site plan if we have, or a server plan if we have. So the first thing is to link a CAD file through which we are going to generate a topo solid out of it with same contours, with same levelings and so on. So I will be going on to an insert tab and I would be linking a CAD file. So I have a CAD file in a form of a civil 3D file, which was extracted from a civil 3D files. So going on to this link CAD option, and I would be going on to the specific location where my file is. So I have this file as ref contour file. Okay, so there are certain options before inserting any of the CAD files, whether you need the colors to be preserved. So preserve means whatso colors have been embedded on the CAD layer, they will appear same as it is onto Revit interface. If you need black and white, So you can go with it. And if you need an inverted, so everything will appear white sort of thing onto your background, which won't appear. So either you go with any of these two options, preserve and black and white. So right now I am okay with black and white. Again, the file in which the CAD file was made was in units of meters, from where we have extracted it from the Civil 3D part. So the units were meters. So you can go with the option of auto detect. So it will detect automatically. Otherwise, if you particularly know what units were there within, you can choose down that particular unit over here. Now, coming back to the part where positioning deals with. So now it has been set it into auto origin to internal origin. That means CAD की फाइल में जहां पे भी ड्राइंग बनी होगी, जिस भी कोऑर्डिनेट में बनी होगी या जिस भी स्पेस पे बनी होगी, वो रेविट के इंटरफेस पे जहां पे 0 0 कॉमनली सेट होता है, उस पॉइंट से उतनी ही डिस्टेंस पे अवे आएगी. सो इट becomes sometimes very difficult to get that file back once it has been loaded onto Revit, but it initially becomes very difficult to catch that file again, even by zooming it to a extent where you have to see that file, but you are not able to see that file. So this is the common thing that happens. So whenever you insert a particular file, because after inserting a file as well, you need to bring that particular file onto 0 0 at Revit interface. Otherwise, you are not going to work a long way back from 0 0 to somewhere else onto the other latitude and longitude coordinates, X and Y axis. So I will be setting up to center. So I need that particular drawing to be within my center of Revit. And at which level I need to do that, I have to go with level 1. So that file appears onto the level 1. And I will open this. So now you can see my CAD file has been appeared over here. And I have 4 of the coordinates over here. I will just move this up so that I can get it onto center and I can pin this particularly. So now my CAD file will not be moved. It is fixed at a certain position now. Now I won't be able to move that particular file because I have pinned it. Now this CAD file was having certain data which was with respect to its elevations and spot elevations. So first thing is I have to acquire those points onto my Revit interface to start working with that particular domain, that particular contour files. So right now, if I just show you the 3D, it is something like this, and which is way beyond the height of what our levels are set. So it's at a certain height, the file has appeared over here. We have inserted it onto level 1. So under the view tab, I have under the manage tab, I have this coordinates option. First thing is I'm acquiring the coordinates which was there onto Civil 3D or a CAD file. So I will choose acquire coordinate option and I will select the link. Now you see what it says is acquire coordinates succeeded. Coordinates required from this particular file has a GIS coordinate system with WGS 1984 datum. Zone this particular site belongs to zone number 43, North India. Meters is the unit and the meridian has been established. That means whatsoever was the data within the CAD or a Civil 3D CAD file has been allocated onto Revit part. And now I have, right now it is in 2D and I need entire things to be in 3D solid form, which topo surface or a topo solid works with. So I will select this thing. I will go on to massing and I have the option for generating down the topo solids. So it asks me 2 of the questions from an sketch or from an import. So basically we don't do sketch because initially if I don't have anything with me or any survey plan with me, I just need to draw rough, then I can opt for create from a sketch option. But if I have a certain specific contour data with me, I would be going with create from an import option. So once I have selected that, it asks for the CAD files, right? Create from CAD. I will select that CAD file. So all these layers which were there within the CAD file has been onto your Revit as well. So now I just need the topo layers to be on, and I need those layers to be converted into a topo solid. I doesn't need any extra sort of links with me on Revit. So I can go with the option of check none. I have checked none, and I will just be selecting down the topo layers. So this is from where the topo starts, and these are the topo layers. I'll select all of them and I will go with OK. And as soon as this has been done, now you can see if I move it on to the shaded, a particular topo solid has been generated onto a Revit interface, right? So we have acquired the coordinates, we have generated an topo solid. Now, according to the CAD file, it would have certain elevations. So we have to see and check what those elevations onto the contours are. So I would be moving on to the annotate option, and I have the option for spot down my elevations. So if I choose this is something the coordinates are. If I move somewhere here, this is 495488. This was 797002. Similarly, if I ping any of the other areas and see what the elevation is, this is 798004. This is 790977. So initially, the units in which we have brought the CAD file was meters. I will also change my file units to meters with 2 places of decimal. Similarly with meters and 2 places of decimal. So now this is like 797. This is 795.49 and so on. So you have multiple levels which has been defined onto the CAD, and you have acquired those coordinates over here. If you just need to increase the size of it, just scale it somewhere around 1000 so you can see all those things accordingly. Right now, if I need to, because I have a certain base point associated with it. So each view is associated with its visibility graphic. I will type VG and it opens down the categories of element. I would be going on to the site again. And from here, I need my project base point. Now I can see that my project base point is here, right? And the spot elevations, I have to select that elevation. I have to go on to edit type. And because this was the elevation from the survey drawing, so I have to convert it into the survey point so that it should not change now. Because if I move my project base point somewhere else, so these elevations are going to fluctuate accordingly. So I have to fix that elevation as a survey point, because these are the points which are onto your CAD domain. And my base point is somewhere here. If I just go on to front of this 3D, you can see I have base point somewhere here. I have my levels over here. And I have my topo solid that is being generated at a certain height of 790.98 on and something 786 or 790, somewhere about that. So now I have to match those two coordinates accordingly. So I will choose this, I will move it accordingly, this base point, and I will try to fix it at a certain point which my thing was. So say 798, I'm going to fix this base point at 798 from where my building should start. So I will type this as 798 elevation. So now my base point, and if I just move on to front, now you can see my base point is somewhere at 798, somewhere here from where I am going to start building down my building structure. But as soon as you go on to this, you will see the levels of a project, because the project base point from 0 has been shifted to 498. So all the levels below it will appear onto a negative value, right? And if I just select it down onto my elevations and I make it as 0, this level as 0, so it will shift onto my project base point, where my project base point is. And I need this level to be at a height of 3 meters from the natural ground level. So now both of the things are here, and I have my particular data, which is in level 1, but at a height of 786. I will make it as 0. And this is level 1, where 798 we have fixed as a project base point, which acts as a 0, 0 now. And now I have a second level at 3 meters from the project base point, which was as 798. So initially, if I just move on to 3D and again spot down the entire elevations here. Let's take one more elevation. Now you can see this particular is 813 and so on. So now you have acquired those particular coordinates based out of the CAD file to this, and you have established your base point with these elevations. And now you can, similarly as we have started from a walls and all, pad, you can develop those things and start working within this particular topo solids accordingly, where to grade it out, where to fill. You can decide all those things accordingly. So this is how the acquire coordinate system works within Revit. So anyone having any questions, you can place those doubts directly. Any doubts with respect to what we have did today? Any wall sections, presentation plans, sites, site development from a CAD file, anything that you need to share or you need to ask, you can go for it. We'll wait for 2 to 3 minutes. Then we'll go with the publishing coordinates option, where I have my site and I have to place several other blocks with the help of shared coordinates, so that I can relocate those buildings accordingly onto my site and I can acquire those coordinates. So same thing happens with other discipline models as well. So if I have an architectural model and someone has modeled and onto a same reference file, someone has modeled and structural elements onto the structural domain. So first of all, he is going to acquire those shared coordinates from an architectural file, and then he is going to locate those particular elements, structural elements, onto the drawings. So what will happen whenever we will take this model particularly for linking, it will overlap with each other. It will have a common base point, shared coordinates, over which one above other model will come. Similarly, in the case of Naviswork, once they have the shared coordinate system, same shared coordinate system, then they are going to be overlapped one above other. I'm opening down a new template again. Hmm. And let's just have a temporary site development, a simple site development to showcase how shared coordinates are acquired and how to work with shared coordinates. So that would be our last topic for today. And then we'll resume our meetings by tomorrow with other certain topics. So I will just be making a site. Property line. Yeah. So under the property line, we have the bearings where we can justify north, south, east, west, and how much line we have to go with. I would be just going for a simple demonstration so that the concept with respect to the shared coordinates becomes easy, and where we can work on the projects much flexibly onto the projects. So creating with the sketch. So let me have a simple site somehow. So this is somewhat my site boundaries is, right? Suppose this is an area where where I have this site lines, site boundaries, and I will be saving this file. Let's not do it right now. Let's so now what we are going to see is, first we are going to see what it does. So right now, if I just move on to the site plan of it, I have two different parts. One is project base point and other is the survey point. So in order to bring any of the Revit files like walls, suppose in a site there are multiple buildings, building A, building B, building C, and so on. And if I need to integrate them at a same position where they have to be onto site, so I have an option for publishing the coordinates from those files to this particular site files. So for this concept, we will be having three files. One is the site file where we are going to overlay other two blocks onto site, and we have to see how they are sharing the common coordinates. Second, we would be having a building A block file, then a building B block file onto Revit. So these are two different blocks. You can plan them internally and then can place them onto site. For placing them onto site at a particular location where you feel it is right, we have to have a shared coordinates aspects. So right now, you can see we have two different points. So here, my project base point is starting from 0. That is of basic project base point, which is at 0, 0 itself because elevation is at 0. What I am concerned with is my survey point. So let me fix my survey point somewhere here onto this particular file. And now I would be bringing block A and block B onto this file. So inserting the Revit file again here. So I think I do have my yeah, shared coordinates. So I have building 1 and I have building 2 file, and I'm entering this building B first. So right now it's an internal origin to origin, and I am bringing it onto Revit. So this is somewhere my file appeared, right? Because it has a certain base point which was situated somewhere here, and it was having a separate internal point which was at certain other point. Now I have to prefix this particular block onto site somewhere else. So let's see. I have to move this, right? And if I feel this is the right position where my block into the site should be, then I will be rotating this particularly. Let's say this is the particular orientation of block, and this is something that's there. So I have one file of my site which has a base point over here and a survey internal point over here. So what I'm going to do is I have to publish the coordinates of a file in order to get a common base of common survey point of both the files. So what I would be doing is I would be going on to manage option. Again, I have to publish the coordinates, right? So I'm choosing the publish coordinates option and I'm clicking on to the link in which I have to have a shared coordinate. I will pick that link. So now it says it has an default site, right? Site is there, default positions are there. And now see what happens. I will go on for the internal position itself. I will go for OK. Now you have seen the project base point of this particular link remains the same, but the internal survey point which was there over here has been shifted onto the same position over here, right? Similarly, I will open a new block as well, and I will insert a new block as well. So now I'm going to insert a block A. I'm going to keep it as open. So this is somewhere the block A has its base point and an internal base point. Similarly, I will set, I will be moving this particular thing where I need my block to be. Suppose this is the part where my block is fixes and I have the survey base point here, survey here. Again, I will be going with the same option to publish those coordinates onto this file. Go on to manage, publishing the coordinates, select the link, select and default location. So now all the other blocks have the same shared coordinate point, which is your survey point, and has a different base block. That doesn't matter somehow because base is starting from 0, 0. Eventually, those models which have building A and B has been modeled into a same place. So base point over here doesn't matters, but the survey point matters. And now I will be saving this particular file as site, coordinated site, onto desktop, and I will save it. So it asks you to change its value from a current position. So here, yes, I have to save all those changes. And now I have this particular thing, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these two blocks again. By going on to manage links, I'm going to remove building A and building B, and these links needs to be removed. So now I have removed all those things and I'm back to 0 where I was earlier. Now I'm going to insert it again, the same Revit file, which was like building A, but now with the, rather than going with the option of internal origin to origin, now it has a common coordinated shared point. So I will go with the option of by shared coordinates and I will open it. So now you can see the building A has appeared onto the very same position which we have prefixed it onto the drawing. Similarly, I'm going to open building number B by the help of shared coordinates. And see, it appears onto the very same point again. So this is how all the three files share a common base point and sharing a common coordinate system through which we can align various blocks within our site or in a campus onto our site. Okay, so this was the entire concept with respect to acquiring a coordinate and publishing down the coordinates. And So this is how the shared coordinate works. So we'll end with this. If anyone is having any questions, please feel free to raise it. We'll try my best to give it the answers to you. So if anyone is having no questions, so we can stop here and we will be beginning on tomorrow's session with certain other topics. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day ahead.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you.